In this video, we're going to complete the UI for the rock, paper, scissors game. Right now I'm looking at the book Intro to App Development with Swift, and if we look at this layout, you have a label, you have another label here, and then you have a button for each sign, and then another button. If we go back to our project, this has all the logic behind the things that we're doing. So we want to go to the main.storyboard, and here on our view controller we're going to create the UI. So let's go down. I'm just scrolling down here, and let's grab a label, and we'll set up a label here, and we'll have a second label below that, and then let's have a button, and let's create the button first, and we'll duplicate it. So here we have the button selected. I'm going to change the text, and I'm going to change this. Remember, you press Control Command Space to bring up the emoji selector. And for this one, we want the fist. And then let's change the font size. Let's change it to 70. Now notice that it's a little cut off. So to fix that, you can go to Editor and choose, make sure you select, let's click away and select it, choose Editor, and then choose Size to Fit. Now this button has been sized to fit. Let's duplicate it by pressing Command D, and let's line it up a little bit. Command D one more time. Okay, now let's change this one, and let's change this to the paper sign, which is this guy right there. And then change this one to the scissors sign. Okay, this top label, we're going to also change this to the good old computer emoji, which happens to be right above all of these hands that we've had. So there's computer emoji. Click away, let's select it. Now let's change the font size here. Let's match this to be 70 as well. And if you press Command equals, it will resize it. Okay, let's change that here. We got this label. Okay, one more thing, we need another button. And this is going to be our play again button. And again, if I select the button and press Command equals, it resizes size to fit. Perfect. Okay, now we want to group these and stack them. First, though, we want to stack, and if I press Shift and I click Select Multiple, we want to stack these in a horizontal row. So press the Stack button, Embed in Stack button. Now I can click and drag and select everything. And I go back here, and again I choose the Embed in Stack and check it out. Now I've got everything grouped the way I want. Alright, let's go ahead, and while we're here, let's align this, add some auto alignment. And if you go to the Align and we choose Horizontal Center and Vertical Center, click Add to Constraints, there it is. Perfect. Alright. We want to connect all of these to our code so that we can manipulate them. So open the Assistant Editor, and it will bring open the View Controller, which is the main file that represents this view here. So first thing we want to do is add some outlets for pretty much everything on here. And the reason for that is we will end up hiding or showing or changing the values of each one of these items. So let's start with the good old computer symbol, and I'm clicking, dragging, and then I let go, and it's an outlet. And let's just call this computer label. And then let me give myself a little more space because I like to put things together. Alright, let's select this label here, Control, click, drag, and I'm going to call this the status label. This is where we say you've won or lost or whatever. All right, let's select this button, control click and drag, and we'll call this the rock button. Paper, click, control click and drag, and we're going to call this paper button. And then we're going to control click drag and call this the scissors button. Awesome. And finally, control click drag and call this the play again button. All right. Now we want a couple of actions. We want an action for the play again. So I'm going to control click and drag. And now remember we changed this to action. And let's call this play again selected. And then click connect. Now for each of these buttons we want their own action. So let's control click and drag. And again we've changed this to action. And let's just call this rock selected. And then click this guy and add it right there. Change this to action. And we say paper selected. And then guess what? Click drag, let go, change this to action. And we're going to call this scissors selected. Okay, so let's give ourselves a little room. Make it a little easier to read. Now, I'm going to delete some of this space here so we don't, there we go, perfect. Okay, the next thing we want to do is create a method that gets called that resets everything when the game starts over. So I'm going to add a method here. We're going to call this a function reset board. And here we're going to reset the computer label, the status, and all these other guys. So for example, let's just start with computer label. Oops, computer label dot text equals, and we want it to be the emoji. So let's go ahead and select that emoji, and then the status label dot text equals, and we're going to say play, rock, paper, scissors with question mark, because that's kind of the initial state. Then the rock button. Now what's going to happen is we're going to hide and show these buttons. So first when we reset it, we're saying is hidden, and we say false because it's not hidden, it's going to be visible. The other thing we're doing is we're disabling or enabling the button. And so when we start the game, we say is enabled equals true. So the same thing happens for paper button is hidden equals false. Oops, I don't need the, and then I say paper button dot is enabled equals true, and then scissors button dot is hidden equals false, scissors button dot is enabled equals true. And finally, the play again button is actually going to be hidden when you start the game. So we say is hidden and we say true. Okay, now that's our reset, and that happens, we're going to call reset when we start, when the view loads, under the view did load, this method gets called first. We're going to call reset board. All right. Now, let's go ahead and test this and see what it looks like. I'm going to select the iPhone 5 because it's a smaller device, easier to see. Let's go ahead and run this. All right, so now notice how we're all set, and it's asking us the game, and then we have these buttons. Now, we haven't added anything here, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's go back and click stop. The other thing, we want to call reset board after we do the play again button. So we're going to say reset board. All right. So the way this works, when you select a button, you want to call a method to what we call is to play. And so we'll create a new method up here, and we're just going to call this play. And the play is going to take a parameter, and it's going to take a parameter that has what we call the the player turn, which is a state, a sign. Okay. Then when each of these methods, when we call rock or selected, paper selected, scissors selected, we're calling this play method, and we're passing in the sign that we selected. So we're going to say play and then sign dot rock. Okay. And the same thing here, we're going to say play sign dot paper, and finally play scissors, play sign dot scissors. Okay, very good. When this happens in the play function, we're going to disable all of the buttons because we don't want any of them to be clicked a second time. Remember, when we reset the board, we enable them. So the first thing we're going to do is just say, regardless of what the sign is, we're just saying rock button dot is enabled equals false, and then paper button dot is enabled equals false, and finally scissors button dot is enabled equals false. So we've disabled the buttons. They won't be able to do anything a second time. Then we need to calculate and decide who won. So we remember over here in our sign.swift file, we have this thing that says return random sign. So I'm going to create the random sign. Whoops. We got out of sync here. This, don't worry about this counterpart thing. Let's hide that. Go back to this. So when we have the right here, when we play, what I want to do is I want to have a random sign for the opponent. So we're going to say let opponent equal random sign. Now this gives me a random sign, and at this point I'm going to call, based on the player turn, I'm going to pass in the opponent, and I'm going to get a game state. Remember, the game state tells me whether I win, lose, or draw. So on player, so what I want is a constant that says game result equals player turn dot take turn, remember, and then I pass in the opponent. Okay, now let me go back to the main storyboard because I want you to see we're talking. So I'll click the assistant editor again, and oh, come on. Automatic. There we go. Okay. Let's get this back over here. Now, remember, so we have the opponent, the random sign. What happens is I have this game result. Now, based on the game result, I need to see what to do. First, though, I want to change my computer sign to whatever this sign, the opponent random sign was. Remember, we have a method that returns the emoji, so I can say computer label dot text equals opponent dot emoji, right? So now that'll change the emoji to the right symbol, whatever was chosen. Then, based on this, I need to show the label. So first I'm going to do a switch against the game result, and I'm going to check if it's a draw. Then I'm going to say status label dot text equals it's a draw. Let me delete. Actually, let's keep the default because, well, I take that back. Let's delete this. Let's delete this and say, now check the other. So if it's lose, then the status label says, sorry, you lose. And it sounds just like that. Sorry. Okay. Next, we're going to say win. We're going to say status label dot text equals you win with an exclamation point. Awesome. Finally, to make this exhaustive, we're going to say start. And if this is the case, then we say status label dot text equals rock, paper, scissors. It's basically just repeating what we initialize it with. All right. Now, so we've set the opponent's emoji. We've set the status label based on whether we won or lost. Now we need to hide these guys depending on which one was selected. So one way to do that, we can do a switch statement against the player turn, and then we say dot rock, and then we say rock button dot is enabled equals true, and then for the others we say is hidden equals false, because we don't want it to be hidden. And then for paper button we say is hidden equals true, and the same thing for scissors button dot is hidden equals true. Okay, now the next case, of course, is dot paper, and then the last case is dot scissors, and then I can delete the default because we don't need it. Okay, let me copy paste this and paste it here. Now we got to change this so that it's right. So we're saying that's hidden, this is not hidden, and we say this one is hidden, and then we say this is not hidden. Okay, now let's review what we've done. We click a button, we choose rock, paper, scissors, we call play, and we disable the buttons because we don't want to click it a second time. We do a random sign to get the opponent. We update the label to whatever that random emoji is. We calculate the result. We check out the result and we say, hey, if it's a draw, then you update the text, lose, win, and start. That's how that goes. Then we hide the buttons that were not selected. So if we selected rock, then it's not hidden, the others are, and so forth. All right, let's give it a shot. Okay, rock, paper, scissors. Let's choose paper. Hey, we won. Oh, I forgot something. Where's my play again button? I forgot it. Let's stop. Let's go back. At the end here, we're going to say play again button dot is hidden equals false. Okay. There we go. Someone was screaming at the computer going, Brent, you missed it, you missed it. And I couldn't hear you, sorry. All right, let's try it one more time. Okay, let's choose rock. It's a draw. All right, now we have a play again button and it reset. Perfect. And hey, paper, you win. Play again. Paper, oh, it's a draw. I'm going to keep trying. Paper, paper, you win. Yay. Paper, it's a draw. It's a draw. Sorry, you lose. Okay, very good. Well, that was easy. Now, there's a couple things I want to say about this. In the book, it does not give very clear directions on some of these things. For example, it says game state. If the game state is start, for example, then you have a label that says that. Well, we're not tracking a variable that says what the current game state is, and we haven't really talked about that. We could, if we wanted, have a variable that, for example, we could do this, and we could say var current game state, which is a game state, equals game state dot start. So that might be one way to do it. So we initialize a variable, and then when we reset the board, the text is going to say, based on, we could check here, current game state, we could change the status label here. And then instead of saying game result, we could say cur game state, and then change it to current game state, and then check against that. But again, we can go up here and change status label. We'd have to add another check for whether it said start, and then add the text. So that's one way to handle it. Otherwise, that's pretty much everything. Again, this is based on how I interpreted it. Hopefully it made sense. Be sure to subscribe and check out the next video where we will cover the Meme Maker app.